Guys, what's going on? I wanted to make this video. It's on my mind a lot. I speak about it a lot, but unfortunately, I honestly just don't have the platform to get my message out there because I think there's just so much information. People are bombarded with stuff. They don't come across the right information, the better information. So here's the deal. When I started training athletes on the regular, it was about 2002. Started training athletes out of my parents' garage, the backyard. Then we would go to local playgrounds and train as well. From there, I progressed to the first house that I bought with my wife. Same thing, garage, backyard, local playgrounds. And things have changed dramatically, drastically since 2002 and even prior. Maybe it's because I'm paying more attention to it, meaning, suddenly you've got a white Porsche, and now you start noticing all the other white Porsches. So you pay attention to more things that are on your mind or things that you have. So when I first started training athletes, a kid could come and I would show them how to do a bodyweight squat, and boom, they could squat deep, flat back, no ankles locked up, no hip mobility issues. No need for all these crazy mobility things. You say, do some pull-ups. They bang out pull-ups. Do push-ups. They could do push-ups. They could do clapping push-ups. Athletes were fit. They were strong. They could run sprints. They could do, these common things that now we're trying to build them up to doing. Today, what I've learned is that because of the poor food choices, the poor lifestyle, the ongoing sitting that athletes go through in school, sitting at home, the overabundance of specialization, these athletes are showing up now, 10 years, 15 years later since I've been training them, the same age, but way, way, way further behind the eight ball than where they were 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago. Every 2 to 3 years, I tend to see this drastic negative decrease in their athletic ability and athletic potential. It's almost like their genetic capabilities are getting destroyed from shitty food, shitty lifestyle habits, shitty training. Here's some common examples. I'm going to go back to like one of the earliest trial workouts I did when I first opened the warehouse of the underground strength gym. Kid shows up to the gym. He could do bodyweight squats, lunges, pull-ups. I've got him doing power cleans with a sandbag. His back stays flat. He could do push-ups with 20 and 40-pound chains on his neck. Then he goes and sprints with a prowler, and he's good to go. Bang, bang, bang. Today, more than ever, athletes are unable to go through our warm-up. They do some jogging, skipping, lunging. They squat. They can't get past halfway without their back rounding over. They do push-ups with their head down, their elbows flared out, their upper back crumbling. We're failing them in physical education. We're failing them at home. I want to find a way to get this information to communicate and get these kids stronger at an earlier age, or simply just fit. I think the word strong has this misconception where parents think, oh, strong, he's going to be squatting and deadlifting, and that's bad for your back, and they will stunt growth. But don't forget, decades ago, kids worked on farms, 7, 8-year-olds, and they were squatting, all day, doing farm walks all day, and they did not stunt their growth. Today, more than ever, kids just don't have the physical capacity, physical capabilities, and it's not that they're incapable, is that they're not being coached properly at these earlier years. There's a lot of ways we could tackle this or attack this thing. At home, if parents are being more thought-provoking and they're leading with the way they eat, with the way they exercise, with the way they basically present themselves to be strong, to be fit, then your kids think that that is normal. Today, my son's going to go with me to the gym. We're going to talk to some of the athletes. I'm going to train, and he's going to do some training. Even though he's got 6 stitches on each of 2 fingers, 12 stitches, I'm going to show him that we could push the sled. We could do squat jumps. We could do walking lunges. There's so many things that we could do rather than finding excuses. These young kids must be taught how to find a reason to succeed, how to find a way to fight back and succeed. And instead of us promoting or accepting being weak, eating like crap, being great maybe, or being good at throwing a baseball or running a football, but not doing the physical preparation, eventually that stuff catches up to the athlete. So when I say we're making athletes stronger, strength is basically an umbrella term. Strength has many different factors, many different, areas to it. So you've got explosiveness, you've got speed, you've got muscular endurance, you've got absolute strength, relative body strength. You have a lot of different things that promote overall athleticism. So being strong also means, in my book, being fast, being agile, being mobile, being able to move, and to have all these, physical traits, not just from, a sports performance standpoint, but I also want to talk about the mental, the confidence standpoint. In the early days, I never heard, my son's afraid, my son's intimidated. I hear it over and over again. Kids are intimidated, kids are scared. But if we build them to be strong, they will not be scared. It's a big reason why I'm highly considering, on a regular basis, wanting to be back inside the schools where I could work with kids for 5 years in a row, 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, and build them up to what their potential truly is. Because when you're able to not fully control it, but truly promote it, encourage, shape it, you can't control things, but a teacher gets to see those kids pretty much 5 days a week. You get to communicate in a much more powerful fashion. Whereas in the independent strength conditioning industry, we have parents that really prefer what is closer to home and what is cheaper, versus having the knowledge and understanding to find what is truly a highly qualified physical preparation coach. Carly's got a question here, and she's an underground strength coach. Says, thanks so much for talking about this. I train high school, middle school athletes. It's unbelievable the lack of body awareness they have. They're also not mentally tough. They always feel like they need a quote-unquote break, or quote-unquote water, or it's too hot. Coaches like us must try to change the new norm, the normal. Thanks for all you do. Carly, absolutely. It is like this thing where they need a break. It's tough. It's too hard. I didn't get along with my coach. My coach and I didn't see eye to eye. He's the best athlete on the team, so I can't start. The genetically gifted athletes are gonna succeed. Then you have the workers, the athletes that are working, who need supportive parents, who need educated coaches, and that's where the system is failing. Is, from an administrative standpoint, somebody like myself is trying to find ways to implant training, not so much from the physical sense, but first and foremost, this training builds leadership, confidence, and inner strength that carries over not just onto the competitive sports arena, but into life and beyond high school. We've got some great coaches that just jumped in. Jeff Zanetti, these guys own Wrestling Mindset. Jeff and his brothers were all state wrestlers, tremendous guys, tremendous coaches. Jason Nace, wrestling coach at Rider University and two-time runner-up New Jersey in state wrestling. Tremendous coaches. We need to transform physical education. And I posted on my Zach Evanish fan page a conversation I had with actually a physical education teacher from Russia, I believe in the Siberia area. And he said they're actually called physical preparation coaches. And there were some things he said we struggle with just like Americans. He goes, in Russia, we may not have the best coaches in these small towns. In the big cities, they will take a highly qualified physical preparation coach, sports coach, and put them in a club where they're working with the most elite athletes in Russia. But he said, other than that, we're doing a lot of kind of the hand-eye and the ball sports like volleyball, basketball, skiing in the winter. He said in America, It looks like, football is a big sport. So he goes, I understand that they teach you how to be strong. He goes, in Russia, we do a lot of body weight training for our physical culture classes. And he said also some of the physical education teachers started bringing in kettlebells, and then the students got more motivated and they started using kettlebells themselves. But in Russia, it's just kind of like this known thing that you must be strong, not just physically but mentally. It's a country, and former Soviet Union, that where their heritage and their culture comes from being fighters, being warriors, being elite, trying to be the best. So at a young age, for example, my son just turned 8, my daughter just turned 10. Even in their younger years, our weekends and our afternoons and evenings are always spent at the playground, at the park, multiple sports. Not so much giving them, hey, what do you feel like doing? A lot of times it's the challenge of them. For my son, it's like, hey, did you do your 10 push-ups? Let's do those 10 push-ups together. My wife just bought the Total Gym, and it's amazing. My kids were arguing over who's going to use the Total Gym. They go in that Total Gym, they do their pulling, they do all these exercises, and it's overall physical fitness. I'm not trying to develop some sort of sport specific. We've got to build these kids physically and mentally. Here's the bottom line. All kids should be able to do a deep squat with a flat back, without their knees caving in, without their ankles collapsing, without their backs hunching over. All kids should be able to do a push-up perfectly with a nice, strong, stable midline. Their neck and spine are aligned. They're not looking down. They're not crumbling. But we don't see these things. So the physical education classes in New Jersey a couple of years ago used to be 3 days a week. Now they were cut to 2 days a week. If I was a phys ed teacher, I'd create a newsletter. I would create all kinds of activities for them to do at home, little mini workouts for them to be doing. I would connect with the classroom teachers and really encourage them and give them basically handouts on, okay, every class, when the class is finished, do these quick things for 30 to 60 seconds so we start sneaking fitness into their overall day. That way they're not only active on phys ed days. The other thing is when our athletes are going to their sport practices, they're usually not doing the exercises correctly. So I've been to youth sport practices and the coach says, all right, Johnny, lead the class in a warm-up. And Johnny says, all right, do, 25 push-ups. And the kids put their head down and they bend their arms 2 inches and they headbutt the floor. And nobody says, whoa, that's wrong. 25 wrong push-ups are not better than one perfectly done, perfectly executed push-up. We got to start kids getting strong younger, because when I'm looking around, I'm seeing too many weak kids. And what happens is it gets tougher and tougher to mold them and transform them into athletes. What does that mean? An athlete that can move, an athlete that can simply have the ability to be athletic. I mean, athleticism is you could sprint, you could jump, you could change directions, you could play multiple sports. Your body looks physically fit. If we keep waiting, the body starts missing out on basically building up this foundation and making, Aaron Osmus says, strong life rules. My man, Aaron was a national champion shot put, Division I strength coach. It's, hey, Mr. Yunker used to be his daughter's phys ed teacher. And let me tell you some of the stuff we did when I was teaching phys ed. Our school did not have a backyard field. Our field was up the street, maybe about a quarter mile up the street. I would do movement with the kids inside. I would do animal walks. We would do some sit-ups where the partner would kind of step on your feet and you would do multi-directional sit-ups. I would mix in push-ups, but not just a set of 10. 5 when you walk in, 5 in the middle of the warm-up, 5 at the end of the warm-up, 5 before you walk out the door. So I wasn't getting 25 crappy push-ups. I was getting 5 perfect push-ups. We had some kids that were highly motivated, more advanced. Okay, you go 6, 7, 8 push-ups while everybody's doing 5. So I'm challenging those who need to be challenged. I would then take them up the street and I would give them maybe 5 minutes on the playground, and I'd say, play tag, free play for 5 minutes. They chase each other, they play tag games. So these kids are working agility, they're running back and forth. They would do their hand walking on the monkey bars. Then we would walk to the field and run a lap, which was about a quarter mile. So it was a very hard run. Then when I created sport games, I did sport games that had minimal weighting. So instead of just a regular football game, I did ultimate football, like ultimate frisbee. So everybody who has the ball is the quarterback, your offense, your defense, your back and forth. When we would play soccer, I would make a tremendously large field, and everybody was offense, defense, and then I would have maybe 4 people who were goalies, but we had a very wide field, so they were sprinting back and forth, and I would do 2 or 3 minute goes, so they were rotating in and out, running, sprinting. Now, that was before I was a physical preparation, strength conditioning coach. If I was in the middle school, I would still incorporate that stuff, same thing with the high school, but I would have 2 or 3 days of some very basic exercises. I'd make my own sleds with tires. I'd get dumbbells and kettlebells off Craigslist so we could do farmer walks, cleans. I would do a lot of walking lunges, squatting, jumping, throwing medicine balls. And we would do really the basics. I feel if you do farmer walks, sleds, and bodyweight exercises, push-ups, recline rows, a lot of this stuff could be made. You start solving a lot of the problems we see today in kids. And here's the thing, it's not the fault of the kids, and it's really not the fault of, the coaches and the teachers. We've got to find a way to build better relations with coaches and teachers where we're giving them information that they could leverage, utilize, and put to use. Because a lot of this stuff is not being taught in the schools, how to utilize strength and conditioning. It's a little bit outdated to just play sports in high school, to just do soccer. And I see all these kids sitting on the sidelines or sitting on the bleachers. We've got to teach them how to be strong and teach them how to train and exercise, because that's a trait that's going to give them a lifetime of fitness. It's going to give them lifetime knowledge, and we've got to inspire them. We've got to lead these kids. Bottom line is I can't keep everywhere, when I walk around and see kids, there's no muscle on these kids. They don't look like they're athletes. That's not a good thing. Weekend football game I watched, I couldn't believe that the whole high school football team was skinny. Is it their fault that they're skinny? No. They look at the internet, so they think they just need to be fast. Well, you can't run a ball when the other team is bigger and stronger than you. It destroys your confidence when you're looking across somebody who's built like a tank and you are built like Gumby or like a stick, a stick figure. It's no good. The coaches need greater knowledge, so we need to create a system where the young kids learn all the bodyweight exercises, training with medicine balls, sleds. Then the middle school kids, they start utilizing some kettlebells, a little bit more intensity of the training. Then when they get to high school, we've got athletes. They've got a tremendous foundation. We've got kids that could play football and wrestling, kids that could run, kids that could do soccer and basketball, kids that could play football and spring track versus these kids who could only do one sport. You want to be able to play multiple sports, and it shouldn't run you down, because if you're in shape and you're strong and you're tough, you could handle it. And how do you get there? It's not by accident. Success is never an accident. We need to build these kids up, and it starts in the younger years, because what's happening is, like I said, I'm piggybacking on this. We start seeing kids when they're 15, 13, 12, and why is my 8 or 7, when my son was 7, why was my 7-year-old son stronger than a 13-year-old? It's not supposed to be that way. But why is it that way? Because he's being taught and trained the right way. We got to do the right thing. That means more knowledge. If you're a phys ed coach, teacher, administrator, reach out to me. I want to find a way to help you. That could be an in-service. If you don't live in New Jersey, it could be a Skype in-service. We've got the Underground Strength Coach certification, the online certification, undergroundstrengthcert.com, and also the Underground Strength Academy at undergroundstrengthcoach.com. Let me take some questions here. Coach Yunker, Mr. Yunker says, I'm coaching Pop Warner still. Just started flag. I believe that's great. Yes, stretching, push-ups, walking lunges, all those things are great. Some burpees, some squat jumps, and give them quote-unquote things, little homework to do at home. Say, guys, every day, 5 push-ups when you wake up, 5 push-ups after dinner, or 5 squats, 5 push-ups. So you give them little things to do. Jeff Zanetti says, my brothers and cousin played ultimate frisbee the other day, 2-on-2. We were sore for a week. Of course, something we learned from wrestling, not school. So, Jeff, I don't remember, I know, I think Gene went to UPenn. One of you guys went to Springfield College. Oh, Jeff was in, one of you guys were at Rutgers. Greg, I think, was at Rutgers. The Russian athletes would cross-train. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, the Russian athletes are doping. Listen, whether they've doped or not, or they have doped, their training system is superior to the American system. Instead of looking at them doping, which comes from all the political pressures, look at their training system. That's the ticket. Michael says, what age do you recommend lifting weights? It's a great question. Lifting weights has kind of a misnomer, meaning when people think lifting weights, what do they think? Squatting and benching. We've trained kids in 4th grade, and I would train them younger if I had more of a facility that looked like a gymnastics gym. But our 4th graders throw medicine balls, they do body weight exercises, they drag sleds, they carry 18-pound kettlebells. Kids are lifting weights as soon as they play football. How? Pushing and pulling against another player. In wrestling, pushing, pulling, and lifting their opponent. That is lifting weights. We don't start loading the spine, meaning we don't start squatting or deadlifting till probably 9th grade. And even then, it is super, super light weights. But what happens, this is really cool. We've got kids that right now, this happens all the time. Kids start with us, let's say 7th grade, midway 7th grade. Now they're in high school. They're in freshman year, first few weeks. They've just started back squatting, 85, 95 pounds. But some of our kids have a much greater foundation. Why? They've been training with us for a year and a half. All the body weight, kettlebells, sleds, sandbags, band training. We've got kids that weigh 135 pounds that could do perfect box squats for 3 to 5 reps with 165. Down nice and slow, softly sitting on the box, exploding up. It's because of their foundation. I've got one kid, his name's Michael. He's a freshman. He started with us a little bit over a year ago. The other day he benched 115 for 5 reps. He did 5 sets of 5 at, I can't remember, it was like 105. We bumped up the weight. This kid could do pull-ups, clapping push-ups. He could farmer walk 70 pounds, 80 pounds, grip perfect, posture perfect. What's interesting is when he first started, he couldn't do a good push-up. But through perfect practice, we built his foundation. Coach Nace says, when I was young, I played soccer. I was pissed because I didn't play that much. I bitched to my dad. His answer was, did you score when you played? I said, no. He said, stop bitching and start scoring goals. He never called a coach. Parents raise those kids tough. Awesome stuff, Zach. Keep educating. Yes, Jason, I remember when you were... Jason was a state finalist twice, and from what I recall, they always give like a little background history on the wrestler, and I think I remember them saying you were captain of the soccer team. But yes, you're correct. Coaches have it much tougher nowadays, including yourself, college coaches. Parents call up to complain, but a lot of times the coaches know the real truth about the kid, the lifestyle of the kid. You're in college, so you know the lifestyle of the kid. Is he partying? Is he taking the lifting serious? Is he really outworking everybody in the wrestling room? You get what you earn. I've mentioned in a prior video that I've spoken to administrators who said, athletics has taken a back seat. Administration and teachers are afraid of the backlash of parents. Administrators told me they get up to 8 phone calls a day, whereas 10 years ago, that was more like 4 to 8 phone calls per sports season. So that's kind of like 1 or 2 phone calls every other week. Things are different. Maybe that's why I am in the independent sector, but I still want to work with the public sector. So those of you watching this video, if you feel like somebody could benefit from it, it's going to be saved. So tag somebody, send it to them as a message. I'll also put this on YouTube. And I'd like to start working with schools on changing up and improving and helping them create a physical preparation, physical culture program, so that it's more forward thinking, it's more progressive, and it's more, just building more results, not from the physical, not just physical, but also mental, emotional. That's it. It's 3:45, and I'll be at the Underground Strength Gym later with my son. Thanks to everybody for watching. undergroundstrength.tv. Get there, sign up for the newsletter. undergroundstrengthcoach.com. That's our academy. That's tremendous for knowledge. If you're a teacher, ask to get it put into your budget to be a member. It's extremely affordable. I think like $19.95 a month. So ask, or $127 a year. So ask your budget, whoever's in charge of that, to fund that. You could be in that. There's information since 2005. You could be in that website every day, all year, and still not go through a third of the information. Mr. Junker, thanks for stopping by, and great to see you still doing stuff with Edison. I always remember my roots from Edison. I'm grateful that I grew up there and had the opportunity to teach there. All right, guys, I am out. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.